we're back for episode 3 or episode 2 if you don't count the pilot as episode 1. It's Ted here, and Kate Birch also joining me as usual to go through hopefully a sort of fairly exciting topic for this time of year. I'm going to be talking about spring deals. And all that kind of involves, what we think about it, some categories and stuff that is maybe interesting for as well, and then go through that in some detail. We've got some data and things to run through as well, which should be interesting for anyone listening.
Great. So first, quick question: what was the last Amazon ad that you remember seeing? What kind of sticks in your mind?
So I've been doing some research for I guess slightly different company than what I normally who normally talks to me in the kind of plumbing space.
Oh, cool.
And it's funny diving into categories on Amazon where so I generally work with kind of like quite brand heavy clients where content is super important and they're going into highly competitive spaces. So the better their content, the richer their content, and the more sort of like on trend for Amazon the content is, the easier it is for them to grow despite having lower reviews, all of that kind of thing. But then in these, I guess, slightly less popular or the kind of a bit more backwards categories, it is like logging in and being on Amazon like 5 years ago. So yeah, it's a kind of sponsored brand ad, but it's just not as sort of glossy and sexy as some of the ones in, like, I don't know, supplement space and beauty space where they generally invest a bit more heavily in that kind of content. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be talking to them about the ability to, I mean, they don't need to go crazy, but it would be very easy to make ads that look so much better than what the competition's doing.
I guess ads that kind of are relevant to business consumers as well, which I'm assuming probably be an angle for them.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it's a bit more sort of B2B type people and trades and things looking to buy stuff. But at the same time, I mean, the potential client I'm speaking to is they have a B2C element as well. So you've got to kind of tread the line, but also be educational. I think a lot of the products it's in that space, like they're different types of, I don't know, screws or whatever it is that you need to kind of educate on, because they're not necessarily just the bog standard stuff, and that is quite hard to get across in certainly an ad. But yeah, much more reliant on the PDP side of things, which again are all quite backwards in that space. Well, not backwards, but like, sort of prehistoric.
I feel like this is going to be a tough client.
No, it's a bit bigger category than I thought it would be. What about you, and what have you seen recently?
I guess most of the stuff that I'm looking at the moment is in beauty or hair. I saw a really nice ad from Child's Farm, and they do hair care products and body gels and stuff for children. And they do a ton of sponsored ads, and lots of sponsored brands in particular. And I think one thing that always stands out about theirs is just the quality of the image. Like some of the stuff, and I know Amazon's quite strict with kind of formats that you have to upload, but still some of the stuff you see is like so pixelated and grainy. This was just super clear. It had pictures of the children holding the products, and then obviously it's got the 3 quadrants next to it with the products clearly displayed. There was really similar like kind of use of color, so theirs was blue and orange, and it was just really fluid throughout the whole sponsored brand space at the top. They also had the sponsored product spaces underneath, which was great, but it was just one that really sticks in my mind because your eyes are immediately drawn to it. Obviously it's clear to see it's branded, but the use of color throughout the whole thing it was really impactful. So I think that's always kind of one to remember as well, that you can have the best image in the world, but really making sure that it's actually super clear, and like not pixelated, not grainy, I think is super important.
Yeah, 100%. And then also what those main product images look like alongside it.
Absolutely.
Uh, I mean, yeah,
Like the
I think it's a bit of
size
a hot topic
even.
at the moment now. Yeah, the main image,
Mm,
whether you maybe include the packaging a little bit
yeah.
on it just so you minimize the white space, but then you do have to think about how that then looks from a sponsor brand perspective as well, ad perspective.
Interesting. We both went sponsored brand and not sponsored like display. I thought.
Yeah, I hate sponsor display ads are so annoying because they're always on your, well, particularly my clients' pages, and they're never
100%.
my clients' products. And they turn up in those funny places, don't they? So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm surprised they work. Amazon are really pushing them. Whenever I speak to someone internally at Amazon Ads, they're waxing lyrical about sponsor display. But the metrics are getting better. But yeah, I'm always surprised that they work as well as they supposedly do.
It's an easy way to burn cash, I think.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think you can do it right. I think you can do it
Yeah.
right, and there's definitely a conversation topic to have, and maybe that's what we can get someone on to speak about that.
Mm,
But yeah, there's strategies to it, but it's such low. It's very upper funnel, low
yeah.
priority. I think for most people, but should definitely be part of the mix.
Well, talking of low priority, it feels like a good way to head into spring sale.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, I think we both did, and I hope everyone else there has got the email. But it's that kind of time of year again, end of Jan, early February, where we have to start thinking about deals again. So you get about 4 weeks off, and then it's straight back into chatting about discounting. Um, but yeah, Kate, do you want to kind of go over what it is and when it is and
Yeah, so spring sale this year is running from the 25th to the 31st of March. It's kind of gone are the days of a 1 day deal or a 2 day deal. They're now doing a weekly thing, which we've all kind of come to know and love over Black Friday. This year, though, it does incorporate Mother's Day. So Mother's Day is on the 30th of March in the UK. So that I think makes it more interesting, actually, because you're kind of capturing obviously all of those shoppers in the same period. In terms of when you need to get your deals nailed down, so top deals, you'll need to schedule those by the 7th of March for UK and Europe. And then you've got a bit longer for lightning deals and best deals, which is March 16th. So still plenty of time. I found that quite surprising because I feel like they're always hounding you to submit them months in advance, but it seems like they're a little bit more laid back this year, which is nice, but odd.
yeah, and I think we spoke about this when we were like prepping for the podcast, but I remember seeing the deadline back in, I think, late December, early January as being sort of roughly mid-January, and
Mm,
so I've gone ahead and
yeah.
booked them in where I can for the clients I'm working with. But yeah, I think they have now extended it. Yeah, generally, I think they need sort of 6-7 weeks to book it all in.
Mm.
So, yeah, the deadline will definitely be coming up now, if it's not gone already. But yeah, I think Mother's Day thing's super interesting. And will change the game a little bit.
Mm.
I know lots of brands who potentially appeal to mums, yeah, slightly older women, um, uh, try and kind of discount on or around Mother's Day. I think the kind of consideration phase and purchasing phase for Mother's Day is generally quite slim because it's kids going, oh, we need to buy our mum a gift, and it's like 2 or 3 days before. So it's a like really short, sharp window.
Mm.
But if that is now covered within the spring deals period, there'll be the opportunity to discount and kind of get some growth off the back of that.
I feel like it almost means that the last 2 to 3 days, so the Friday to the Monday, just become redundant because I think people will still be shopping on the Friday because they'll obviously get that prime delivery for the Saturday. But people will be, too concerned to shop on Saturday, and I think probably too busy to shop on Sunday. So, in a way, I think it definitely presents an opportunity for that, I think it's Tuesday to Friday. I think that will be a really busy period, but it'll be interesting to see what the weekend trading is like.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the first spring deal I've been excited about. Normally, I was excited for my first ever one just because it sounded like it would be a kind of Prime Day ish type event. But it's just always been a bit of a dud. That could just be because of the accounts and categories that I've worked on in my time. But generally, I think just the time of year, the kind of categories that it is relevant for aren't necessarily like regular purchasable products, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So like I mean garden furniture and stuff has a bit of a spike I think around that time. But you know that's not a regular purchase, so it definitely works for some categories, but yeah, the majority it doesn't. So this year with the extended edition and the coverage of Mother's Day should pick up some wider interest, which is exciting.
Definitely. I think, and obviously we'll go on to talk about the category data, but I think who does Spring Sale usually work for? As you've mentioned, it brings in, brands that market to mothers or older women, or women in general. And I think there's now just a whole other opportunity for gifting. And that can be kind of any brand, right? That's relevant for gifting, flowers, chocolates, anything like that. So I think that kind of definitely broadens the kind of usual category that I would say it works for. And I agree with you. I'm definitely excited for it this year because of that extra. It includes that shopping holiday. But I've had really mixed results over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how running it across the longer period works.
Yeah, but it puts the pressure on though,
It does.
because again, you've got 3.5-ish months since the middle of December when it's super busy for everyone. You've got 3.5 months to let your prices settle a little bit, or like put your prices up to what they should be, and let that settle in a bit and things like that. But you're going straight into discounting. You'll then have Prime Day, 3.5 months after that, and some bits and bobs in the middle, beginning of summer and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting, and that's why we're talking about it. But yeah, I think the opportunity's there though, and maybe it's not going to be a sort of Prime Day, Black Friday thing where you discount loads. It's just key products, or maybe stuff that's moving a bit slower. You can definitely be a bit more relaxed and tactical about it for most categories, but obviously if it's a category where there's a spike in interest around that time because of change in seasons or Mother's Day or whatever it is, then it's a really good opportunity to get ahead of the competition who maybe are still dragging their feet with it a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Should we go and share some category data?
Yeah, let's do it. So anyone watching, you'll be able to see that we're looking at a kind of year view of search volume just for the keyword dog food. And for anyone not watching, you would have heard the explanation there. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting view of, I guess, where it kind of shows the potentially slight non-interest in the spring deal period. What do you think, Kate?
I think I've worked in this category, and I mean spring sale is, it definitely works, but as you can see, it doesn't really work any better than, and I mean the front of that graph will be end of January, early February. The sales there are strong. Sales throughout March into the end of March are strong. There's no kind of real uplift. Granted, they don't see any further spikes until the likes of Prime Day, so it does definitely plateau after that. But again, it doesn't there's no huge spike, right? And a lot of brands, you can't just run for the weekend anymore. You have to run across the whole week. So, you're funding promotions for a long time. That to me would just indicate that there's no real uplift, I guess. There's no decline, but no real uplift.
Yeah, and I mean, at least on this graph, and with this category and keyword, there is then post the end of March a bit of a decline for basically Q2.
Mm.
So the spring deal potentially for this kind of category is a bit of a last hurrah before a slower period. So again, thinking about less sales but more like your ranking. If ranking is going to be more of a challenge in Q2, then boosting that as much as you can with by dropping your price at the end of March for the spring sale would be a valid and kind of strong tactic for
Mm.
leapfrogging the competition a little bit. But yeah, thinking about it's not really relevant for Mother's Day. There's nothing around that time of year necessarily that's going to warrant the need to spend more on dog food. Like it's not like you're maybe going away for a longer period of time or something, I don't know, that you'd need to stock up for. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Mm.
Then we've got jeans for men. Do you want to run through this one?
Yeah, so I mean, fashion always feels like an odd one for Amazon. They haven't, I think, still quite cracked it, but they're well on their way. This is one where we do see that quite significant spike between the middle to end of March, which coincides with spring sale it did last year. And that's, again, not only the strongest peak that we see, we don't see it peak that high in July for Prime Day. We see it peak across the likes of Prime Day 2 and November. But certainly for fashion, it seems like it's one that's worth investing in. Similarly to the other ones, you can see that significant drop off in Q2, but they don't really pick up until Q4, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think two things here. One, for anyone who can't see it, this is a much more like spiky graph that the peaks around deal events and things are much clearer. I think there's fashion in general, and then there's subcategories within that. I would potentially say that it's maybe jeans are a bit of a value purchase in the sense that
Mm.
people don't buy them that often. They generally last longer, and so when people do buy them, they want to try and get a bit of a discount on them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, generally they're a bit more expensive than other fashion items. So there could be a little bit of that going on, but either way, I think people looking for kind of quality fashion would be looking for discounts, and when fashion shoppers are generally quite savvy, I would say. Um, so yeah, that maybe explains it a little bit, but
Mm.
certainly for anyone in fashion, discounting and deal events are super important, which does make the pricing side of things very tricky to manage,
Yeah.
particularly from an Amazon perspective. And yeah, fashion on Amazon, as Kate said, still being developed quite quickly, but it is still quite messy. There's lots of third party sellers and things like that, like across the kind of well known brands and things like that. So it's a tricky one to play in. But yeah, spring deal this year probably be bigger than it was last year, I'd expect, based on the way that graph's trending. Cleaning products.
Yeah, I think this is another interesting one. And again, I've worked in this category, and there is a significant dip in Q2. So again, this seems similar to fashion, where it's almost like one last hurrah, like it's worth discounting for to make sure you can ride out on a strong Q1. But again, I mean, March in a whole is strong. It's no stronger at the beginning of the month than it is towards the end. So that wouldn't tell me that spring sale in general is driving that demand. There's also a peak of the same size in that will probably be end of March, end of January, early Feb. So there's, again, I think it's a good period to discount, but it doesn't tell me that spring sale in specific is driving that.
Yeah, I was slightly surprised by this one. I can't remember whose idea it was to look at cleaning products, but I would have thought that spring cleaning, kind of sprucing up after the winter and Christmas and all of that kind of thing would mean that there was a bit of a spike in and around
Yeah.
that date. But yeah, it really is essentially flat from January to March onwards last year. And then, yeah, I mean, again, slightly weirdly, people are buying it on Prime Day in the middle of the year. There's a bit more interest then. So yeah, again, don't know. I would suggest getting involved, but again, this would be a tactical play for any brand or seller in this space. I think thinking about slow moving stock, or I don't know if you had anything that was maybe more winter focused in some way, then trying to clear through that stock so your inventory levels and things are looking a bit better in what looks like will be a slow period in Q2. Would be a smart move.
It's quite interesting because the percentage of deals that are in the cleaning products and kind of outdoor category, which you would expect you would expect those to be popular during this time. Actually, and this is some data from the US, but although over 70% of the deals were in the cleaning product and outdoor home and garden category, they only accounted for 13% of the sales, which is crazy. So I feel like everyone really thinks this is a big time for that category, but it doesn't seem to translate into revenue, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's because of the level of discount that needs to go on to stay relevant. And again, like cleaning products is such a competitive category. Yeah. Like there'll be price drops, kind of spiraling price drops that have been going on for years on key products and things. And yeah, lots of them will be on vendor and sold by Amazon, and Amazon even have their own brand of cleaning products as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's a challenge. But that I guess is slightly surprising is that I can't remember the name of Amazon's cleaning product brand. I do have their floor cleaner. It is because of that. There's not a big spike because normally Amazon kind of bet on categories where there is that sort of movement. But yeah, it's again different one. I think we've got some for some categories that worked. Or that maybe is a bit more relevant for. This one we've got up next is collagen supplements for women. So looking at that, personal health care now space, which generally coming out of Christmas, New Year, New Me, all of that sort of thing has a pretty strong start to the year. Actually, you get no let up from Q4. But yeah, I think maybe this would be slightly different with the spring deal covering Mother's Day, but then again, getting your mum collagen supplements is potentially a bit of a weird gift. There's no obvious uplift here either, although Q2 is quite strong for the category, though, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're the expert in this one, Ted.
Yeah, lots of experience with these guys. Yeah, I think again it would be worth doing. Tactical would be what I would suggest here for anyone kind of in personal care, unless there is a gifting element. Potentially, you've got gift boxes or gift sets or something that you did for Q4 that you're maybe struggling to sell, as long as they're not covered in snowmen and Santa Clauses and things like that on the packaging, then you could probably quite easily repackage them up or redress them up on from a listing perspective as Mother's Day gifts or spring sort of focused gift boxes. So that would be something I'd suggest as well if that's something you sell. But yeah, maybe but certainly bestsellers and things like that and stuff you've discounted heavily over Q4. Really try and let the price settle as much as you can. So don't discount as much as you can in the first 6 months. It's going to be good for your margin. It's going to be good for your gross sales and things like that, but also allows you to essentially invest in discounting a lot more later in the year when it gets a bit crazier. Interesting deep dive into some category data. yeah, one we didn't talk about, which I did want to, was the gardening. I think we looked at garden
Mm.
furniture or something like that when we were researching this, um, and that there was a massive spike in and around the Spring Deal event and that kind of time of year. I think naturally people were thinking about those sorts of purchases, but also you've got to think, yeah, that's going to be a 200, £300 plus potentially sort of purchase, and
Hmm.
people will be looking for that 10, 15, 20% off. So but then it was rubbish the rest of the year. So it was the whole your whole business is built around the Spring Deal. So actually, it being a week long, it covering Mother's Day, fingers crossed the weather's getting a bit better, all of that sort of thing really plays into your hands. But
Mm.
it's like double or quit. So yeah, you've got to go all in then to make up for the rest of the year being quite poor. So we'll touch on some deal mechanics now, and sort of a bit about how they work for those that don't know. Um, Anyone working in Amazon will be very aware of these, but you've got different sorts of levels and types of deals. What are called top deals are always going to give you the best return, but there are eligibility requirements for that. But definitely, if you are eligible, I'd strongly suggest taking as many of them as you can sort of afford to do, and then if you do have a lot of them,
Mm.
maybe avoid discounting on the rest of your lines, just to preserve cost as much as you can. But generally, they're going to be your best sellers. Um, then you've got Prime exclusive deals, so a bit of a level down, I would say. They kind of do what they say on the tin. They're like exclusive to Amazon Prime customers only. So non-Prime customers just won't see the little bit of text that will appear on the listing that suggests that they're on deal, or they might get suggested to sign up to Prime to
Mm.
to get the discount, but that's probably a few additional steps too far for most customers to do, particularly for like low priced items. Maybe for some garden furniture or something, they would consider that. And then you've also got which I think for the kind of most standard ones are Lightning and Best Deals. They appear on your Seller Central under deals, and they are, again, there's eligibility requirements. Lightning deals are, as they suggest, very fast, anywhere between 4 and 24 hours. I think I've seen the odd one that offers 48-hour window, but that's quite rare.
Mm.
And best deals last for 7 days, although with the elongated Black Friday last year, that they did last for 10 days, 10 or 11 days actually, I think, to cover that whole event. So they'll probably be your bread and butter. There's a fee to those last ones, one-off fee, but you get some additional visibility in the sense of being on the deals and or Lightning deals page on the kind of Amazon homepage, which people I think do use quite actively to shop. Did I cover everything there, Kate?
Yeah, completely. The only thing I would add is so usually you would, when you're booking your best deals or your lightning deals, you pay a surcharge to participate during an event. Interestingly, there's no surcharge for the spring sale. So I think usually it would be 25 for a normal kind of week deal slot, and then it's usually 50, or I think it might be 100 for Black Friday. They usually kind of really increase that, but it stayed flat this year, which I found
Which
quite
I think
interesting.
says a little bit about what you need to know about the spring deal, which is that it's not such a major
Mm.
event, that Amazon themselves just simply won't be processing as many deals, which presents an opportunity on one hand, but like if the traffic's not there
Yeah.
in terms of searches and things like that, there's probably not going to be such a big spike. So yeah, I think that says a little bit about what you need to know. Um,
I think one really interesting point is around merchandising. And I kind of remember the days where you could, if you're on vendor, you could email your AVS, or if you're on seller, email your deals contact, and they kind of boost you up and put your logo on some of those deals tiles. But it's just impossible to get that nowadays. I think they might have actually internally changed the way that they promote the deals. So it's all kind of done by algorithm now, before they could kind of change things about manually, which gave you a bit of a better chance to increase your visibility. But I think now it's so hard, unless you're literally the leader in that number one category, not even subcategory, to get yourself on the top of those deal pages. So I think that's something that might be easier in spring sale if there's less competition, but definitely something to be wary of. Like if you're going on deep discount, you're going to need the ad spend to kind of back that up. It's unlikely that you can rely on Amazon to give you a good placement on those deal pages.
I think they've rolled that sort of additional boost up into top deals. I think that is what top deals now are to Amazon, because generally they're invite only. You sort of need to know someone at Amazon to be able to submit for entry into a top deal. Occasionally, if you don't have an internal link, you might get an email about it if you've got a seriously strong product. But yeah, that's how you get the boost now. So if you do have anyone that you're working with internally at Amazon supporting your brand or your agency or whatever it might be, then give them a nudge now. If you're interested in trying to get some top deals, they've generally got a bit of a later window as well that they can submit into, because they will be able to connect up with people in the actual like Amazon deals team, who have a bit more flexibility on things like that. And then, yeah, I think kind of slightly wrapping up, but if you listen to our last episode, we talked about this a fair bit. But as with any deal discounting decision, always refer back to your P&L. You to get the most out of it, you're probably going to want to really think about your advertising and where you're advertising and how you're advertising as well. That could mean that you end up spending more as well. So you're spending more and you're selling a cheaper product, you're discounting. So it is going to affect your margin. I always like to talk about it and think about it in terms of an investment. Maybe afterwards, Kate, we can find some products where we see that really nice plateau effect in terms of or sort of step up plateau effect of their bestseller ranking. So where a product's really been invested in and then drop the price, your bestseller ranking is going to significantly drop, which is a good thing. Closer to 1, the better. But then you'll probably then pop back up, but you should level off in theory lower than where you were before. So your rate of sale will pick up marginally by 2-3%, something like that, kind of ongoing. So it's an investment in then being able to sell more regularly, but back at your full price. Quite hard to work that out, if not impossible. But that is the kind of thinking and the logic, and that applies to marketing and discounting across the board. But on Amazon, it's that bestseller rank metric is quite good to track, even though it's all over the place all the time. Looking at averages over the past few months to gauge whether it's something you want to do is definitely worth considering.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think managing the kind of revenue boost that you want to see before you head into Q2, which is always slightly lower, with ensuring that you've got a healthy margin and you're not kind of diluting that so much is super important. I know we obviously focus mainly on Amazon here, but I would just end with a note that TikTok and Walmart are also following suit. So TikTok have got their spring sale event, which overlaps across the same period, which will certainly be interesting. Walmart launched their first spring sale last year. So again, I would imagine that they'll follow suit this year. I haven't seen them release their dates as yet, but we can assume it will fall across the same kind of late March, early April.
Yeah, 100%. I think that will, there's definitely lots of kind of cross contamination with customers on these different channels, but particularly TikTok and Amazon. In the UK, definitely, and the US, there's a big link between people finding products on TikTok, but still
Yeah.
trusting Amazon or wanting that next day delivery from Amazon. So hopping back over there to purchase. But yeah, if they are successful in driving more visibility, or you as a brand are investing in TikTok, then and potentially discounting there, then thinking about what you're also doing on Amazon at the same time would be worthwhile. So yeah, in conclusion, I it'd be interesting to see what people think about our reaction to it. But I think generally, certainly in this categories and things that we play in, it's a little bit of a muted event. But there are things you can do, and I always do something with my clients and the brands that I work with. But yeah, do try and do something fairly tactical most of the time to maybe shift some old stock, or boost ranking significantly, which you can do on slower moving lines.
Great.
Yeah, thank you very much, and bang on time as well.